So let's take a look at how the exercise project 4 was built. So we start by declaring our PHP tags because, like always, we're using PHP code. So the next step we do is we want to declare our class called employee. Once we declare or define our class called employee, we want to declare our attributes within our class employee. I went ahead and declared 3 attributes to the employee class. So we have our first name, last name, and ID number. And as you can see here, I used the private visibility feature because I do not want any other class to inherit these attributes. These can only be seen and used within our employee class. Next step, we call our default constructor. So we want to create a default constructor so we can actually assign values or external values when we create our new objects with user data or user information. Right here we have our first name, last name, and user ID that will be provided by the user when they create new objects. Once we do that, we have our destructor. Now remember, the destructor is called every time that a object that is created, but when the PHP script is finished. Again, the destructor or the destruct function is called for each object that was created in the beginning of the script. But once the script terminates, it calls the destruct function for destroying the objects created. So once we do that, we can use our methods. So here in our set employee info, again, we're passing 3 pieces of information to our method set employee info if we want to reassign new values to our objects that we create. So again, we're taking those values that are provided by the user when the object is created, or when the object is already defined. We're just overriding the attributes of that object, and we're reassigning the values to our attributes of that object as well. So once we do that, give me 1 second here, and I believe, let me just remove these, because again, when we're using our special pointer referring to an object and to access a attribute, we want to use the syntax like this, which is this special pointer with the arrow operator followed by the attributes without the $sign. So once we do that, we can jump down to our get function. So we want to print out our values, our current values from our attributes of our object. So again, we use our special pointer reference to access our attributes within our object, and we can print those assigned values. So again, we print the name, we print the ID number. So we have the first and last name, and then we have the ID number as well. So once we're done with our employee class, we can begin creating these objects with the values provided by the user, which you're going to be the user. So what I did here for employee 1, employee 2, and employee 3, I used the keyword new to create new objects of the employee class. And again, if we look at our constructor, it's required to pass in 3 pieces of information, which is first name, last name, and ID number. And here we used first name, last name, and the ID number. And again, these names can be different of your choice, and the ID numbers as well. But I just use these names and ID numbers as an example. But you can you can be more than welcome to use them as well. So once we do that, our objects are created and they're set up. So we want to display the title of the exercise project. So I went ahead and used some HTML code, which is an H1 header tag, and it writes it in bold or displays it in bold, and I aligned it to the center of our HTML page. So lastly, we want to display the information from our employees. So again, I'm displaying an HTML H2 tag header followed by the 3 employees, which name is employee 01, 02, and 03. And again, we're using our arrow operator to access the method called getEmployeeInfo, and it'll display the current employee information that is attached to the specific employee object. So again, if we take a look at line 53 is associated with the information as line 64. So line 64 should have Victor Davis 1, 2, 3, and 65 should have, or line 65 should have Jadian Forte with the ID number 456. And lastly, line 66, which is the last employee, should have Bobby Harrison in 768. So that is how the exercise project 4 was built.